Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts for the power, performance, and reliability of a new Superstart battery. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Streamed and Screened, an entertainment podcast about movies and TV from Lee Enterprises. I'm Terry Lipschutz, managing editor of the National Newsroom at Lee and co-host of the program with Bruce Miller, editor of the Sioux City Journal and a longtime entertainment reporter. And I'm probably sounding a little bit more excited than I should, because it's been a bit of a down week. Like, I mean, the passing of so many legends.
How many? We've lost so many big ones. And, you know, you think, I haven't really properly mourned this person, and then it's time for another one.
Oh,
it
my
used
goodness.
to be threes. Remember how we would always get them in threes? Not that way. Maggie Smith, what a loss, because she was just so fun, and she really didn't buy into all of that. You know, oh my God, you're the greatest. Yeah, right. She wasn't like that. And everybody that worked with her said she was so much fun. You know, yeah, she was older, but was it really time? You know, Blake Hogeston from Days of Our Lives, if you're a Days of Our Lives fan. Another one, gone, that you didn't know. Kris Kristofferson. And Kris Kristofferson was here not long ago to do a concert. And let's just say he wasn't singing in the finest voice, and he knew it. And he admitted it, and he said, you know, I don't sound good at all, but hey, you'll hear the songs I wrote them. That was in. And then yesterday, two Broadway actors, Gavin Creel and Ian Page. And they, you know, if you know anything about those worlds, they were biggies. One was in Cats. The other one was in the revival of Hello, Dolly, and he won a Tony for that. So it's bizarre. And then we've got Pete Rhodes. The last time I was in Vegas, he was selling autographs at one of those, like Caesars. Is that where it was? It was like...
I can't remember if it is at one of those, because he had a standing, like... He's got, I think, a memorabilia shop in Vegas.
Yeah.
And he basically was living in Vegas almost full time and signing nonstop.
Yeah. And you could go there and you could say you saw him and get a picture and have him sign something for you. And he's gone. And then your big basketball player. Yeah.
Dikembe Mutombo, who not only may have been one of the greatest defensive players of all time, but he was a philanthropist too. I mean, he was from Africa and donated a lot of time and his money to helping others. And it just, that was a really sad one. And he was such an iconic player, because the one thing I always remember with him is he probably could have scored a lot more points if he wanted to, but he was just one of those guys who wanted to get down onto the other end of the court, played awesome defensive basketball, rebound, and block shots. And that was his thing. And he would block your shot and then wag his finger at you. And it was like, no. And it was just his move. And I'm a huge Knicks fan, New York Knicks fan. And it's a team that just hasn't been, they've gotten a lot better in the last couple seasons. So they've had a bit of a revival, but Mutombo spent 1 year with the Knicks, and even though it was kind of towards the end of his career, he was still a force defensively, and it was still fun to watch him play.
When you've got a personality, that's half the battle here.
Yeah, and you know, it's some of these deaths, like with Maggie Smith, there's someone who, she's a 2-time Oscar winner, but those roles that she won Oscars for were older. They were in the 70s, I guess.
She won for Prime Miss Jean Brody, and then she won for California Suite. It was kind of the beginning of her career as we knew it. Now, she had a big theatrical career in London, but then she kind of came over here, and then television just opened her up to a huge audience, which she wasn't all that thrilled about. She didn't want to be recognized. She didn't want to be, you know, somebody that they would ooh and ah over, because that wasn't the game she was playing.
Right. And I texted my family during the day, and I said, Professor McGonagall has died. And there was some sadness there. And they're, you know, my daughters they're teenagers, so they wouldn't know her from, you know, like Downton Abbey or any of that stuff. They know her from Harry Potter, and to see her pass away, I mean, that brought some sadness to them. So, I mean, you look at like someone who has such a wide and varied career, but she can resonate at so many different ages because of the different types of roles she's taken on. And then, like Kris Kristofferson, I mean, man.
Star is Born.
The Star is Born. He wrote like Me and Bobby McGee, the hit for Janis Joplin. He was and I didn't even realize like he was a Rhodes Scholar and he was a Golden Globe boxer. I mean, he did it all. He was one of such a legend on the screen, in music, as a writer, as a performer. Is just an overall like good human being and
Renaissance man.
I know, and just to lose him, and Pete Rose, we kind of got to see him again recently because HBO, if you haven't had a chance, check out the documentary that just came out recently, looking at his life and his career. It was a few parts. I can't remember if it was like 3 or 4, but it was such a good look at his career, the rise, the fall, the fact that he was like to the end, he was just signing autographs. I'm like, we're recording this. I'm in my home office, and in my home office, I have 2 autographs from Pete Rose, one on a bobblehead doll, and then another one is, and they talked about this in the documentary, the 1973 National League Championship Series. He slid hard into second base when the Reds were playing the New York Mets and got into a fight with shortstop Buddy Harrelson. And I have a picture autographed by both Buddy Harrelson and Pete Rose fighting with each other. It's a pretty cool photo. But there's another one. Buddy Harrelson died earlier this year from the Mets. And that's just like these people that I grew up with. Pete Rose is in his 80s. I'm in my upper 40s. As a kid, though, I watched the end of Pete Rose's career. So to see people like Pete Rose die, it's just, it hits you pretty hard.
Yeah, they're touchstones in our lives. And certainly when they're preserved in some way, if they're on some video, if they're on screen, if they're somewhere, you always kind of have them, which gives you a little bit of comfort that you'll always be able to see them perform. It's not like our families, but it is one of those things where you think, I want more from these people, and it just stops. And that's hard to take. I think that's the tough part, but that's the downer end of things. Okay, you want the upper end of things? Well,
there's actually, and then there's one other downer, and this was, it's not quite at the same level as some of the people we just talked about, but our, here in Lee Enterprises, we have a newspaper, the Quad City Times, and they had breaking news this morning. They had the exclusive. It was first reported by the QC Times that Frank Fritz from American Pickers, the History Channel show, had died. And there's somebody, he's not a Hollywood A-lister, it's nothing like that, but man, that show American Pickers on the History Channel, I've watched so many episodes of that. I haven't seen it in years. I kind of, it's one of those, like some of those reality shows, you can kind of get into them for a while and then you just move on to something else. But it was so much fun watching the two of them go around, Mike Wolf and Frank Fritz go around and just find like what you would think is just old junk in a barn and some of these cool things like toys.
And it is.
Well, yeah, some of it is, but there's just some hidden gems out there that are just like hiding in places and, are really good finds for people that are into like picking. And he unfortunately had a stroke a couple of years ago. I know he hasn't been on that show in a while. And it sounded like he had a bit of a falling out too with his longtime partner, but it sounded like, they had kind of reconciled and it also, based on that story, Mike Wolf was with him near the end. So that was good to hear, but another sad thing, in kind of that entertainment world this past few days.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. When you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself, talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Yeah, they say that if they come into your home through television, that you feel like they are part of your family. And even though when you do meet some of those people, they find a distance, but they know that, you know, people will be more likely to greet them on the street and say, hey, whomever. Whereas if they were in a film or if they were even on Broadway, they probably would be a little more distant. So if they come into your house, you think they're part of your family. And that's what kind of is surprising. But, you know, we've got this week, we've got the Joker Part 2 coming out. And that could be just a huge film for the end of the year. It could be another big thing. But I did see Megalopolis this last week from Francis Ford Coppola, who should know better. It is such a mess. It is just solid mess from wall to wall. It's got a bunch of hammy old actors in there that are nobody is consistent. Nothing is consistent. They spent a fortune on sets and stuff. And the story is just stupid. And Adam Driver, I'm sure, would go, you know, I want to work with him. I want to be able to say that I worked with this guy at some point. But is this the film? I don't know. So when you go see that, and I'm sure you will, be kind, because I wasn't.
Would you... I mean, I know there's so many bad films that get released, and the whole concept of, like, was this the worst movie you've seen all year? But when you consider that it's a Francis Ford Coppola movie and a lot of money was spent on it and a lot of stars are in it, would it be a stretch to call this maybe the worst movie of 2024?
It'll certainly be a raspberry kind of contender. You know what it is? Your expectation is greater for some people. So then the fall is greater. Sometimes, you know, we go just because of the names that are in it. And so they dupe you on a number of levels, I'm sorry to say, but it didn't do well at the box office either. So maybe people were wise to this.
It really underperformed. It was only, 4 million? It was something terrible. It was a horribly low number for an opening week for what you would consider to be like a big movie from a big director.
When I went, I could name everybody who was in the theater. That's how you were in it. But that was a big disappointment. So that's another downer for us this week. But an upper is that we're getting a lot of new TV shows that are starting.
Yes.
CBS is leaning in real heavily with all of its. They've been showing sneaks, and I raved about Matlock. I told you that was good. The Summit is another kind of Survivor-like contest show, and they gave a sneak of that. Won't come back till later in the month. But it's about a group of 16 people go on this mountain climb, and you've got to help each other and also then vote off who you think is just holding you back from getting the $1 million. And so it gets a little cutthroat. It's a little like Weakest Link, where a lot of times you think, well, wait a minute, that person answered all the questions. Why are they getting rid of that person? Well, it's because they see him as a threat. And I hate that kind of concept where, you know, a threat is suddenly unable to win the money because. But so that, and then the sequel to Young Sheldon, Georgie and Bandy's first marriage, cute. It's cute, and it does bring back a lot of people from Young Sheldon. I've seen that, and I think I've seen 3 episodes of that. And it's a real chance for Montana Jordan to find his own. He really is good in this, and it's shot before a live audience, so that's interesting. NCIS Origins is a look back at that long time ago, the 90s, and what it was like for Mark Harmon's character to get his first start. Now, the guy who plays him sounds exactly like Mark Harmon, and he said he did work on it. He worked on getting the voice and the cadence and all that. So that'll be an interesting thing to look at. The franchise coming on HBO is a look at it like a Marvel superhero group of people, but they're not the top level. They're not the Avengers, for example. This would be more like, Doctor Strange, about that level. And so they're all kind of upset about the way things are and how life's going for them. That's an interesting thing. We have Reba McEntire's return in Happy's Place, where she runs a bar. And then we have Damon Wayans and his son in Papa's House, where they're just, fighting families. So there are things coming out, but it's sampling time. I think it's time for you to just kind of see what you like and go from there. Now, the one that I have loved all summer long is English Teacher. This is on FX, and I thought it captured a lot of the problems that teachers face today and the people who make it difficult. And I told you way back when that you have to wait till episode 6 to get the best character ever. And I am doing everything I can to get her nominated for Best Guest Actress because she is that good. Her name is Jenn Lyon. She was in Claws, if you saw that, a number of TV series before, but has never really had a breakout role. And this one, she plays Linda Harrison. Linda Harrison is that mother that complicates life for teachers, that demands that her kids should have better grades, demands that they don't do what she doesn't like. She complains at the school board. And so she's in the eyes of this English teacher played by Brian Jordan Alvarez. And she wants him to see her side of things. And you'll hear in this thing, I said, well, she's kind of a Karen, and she explains the situation there. But Jenn Lyon is her name. We did an interview with her, and she was so fun. Listen, you'll see what I mean, just how kind of fun she is. And the secrets of double Sprites and steak nuggets. Jenn, you are the star of English Teacher, in my mind. I'll tell you, when I saw that episode, I said, she stands out, but they did foreshadow that you were coming because they talked about you before you got there. But how did you know that you were going to be in this? Was it just an audition for a part, or did they say, this could be much, much more than that?
It was just an audition. I got the audition and I made the tape. And when I saw on the script, it said Brian Jordan Alvarez, I was really stoked because I had been such a fan of his and Stephanie's. I'd been watching their stuff on YouTube forever. And I was so stoked that he had a show. And so when I got the audition, I was just really excited to make a tape. And then I Zoomed with Brian and Jonathan Cressell, the director. And then I got it. And I was lucky and excited.
So what did they say Linda was? Did they explain her to you, or did they just say, let's create her?
Well, she was pretty much on the page. They said she's Southern, powerful, sort of like my Meemaw would say, butter would melt in her mouth. Like, she has a coldness, but she also presents in a way that is very congenial. Like, we know the type.
She was a pageant girl. I can bet you any money she was a pageant girl.
100%. Oh, you got her pet.
When you saw the script, then did you say, "Oh, I know all this. I can tap into everything that she is," or was it a surprise?
Well, when I had the audition sides, I thought they were so funny. It was the hunting scene and the restaurant scene, and I just loved the way she had like a faux intimacy with people that she just met, which is very familiar to me because I'm from the South. And I thought, oh, I know this woman. And then I got the full script and I was so excited. Yeah, there were surprising parts to me. I didn't know she called an entire town hall. I didn't know she was like really going after him in that way. And that just became, I was like trepidatious. I was nervous to like do the auditorium scene, but it was so collaborative and fun, and I loved it.
Is she what we would call a Karen, or is that undercutting her?
I think she's even more than a Karen. I think she is possibly a Barbara, which is the next level.
Barbara is next level. Okay, good to know. And then Linda comes after that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did they say there's a possibility she can come back?
I mean, I wish it to be true. And if they don't get a second season, there's no justice in the world. Like, it is such a great show. So I would be thrilled.
I think she needs to be on the school board.
Okay, your lips to God's ears.
It makes perfect sense. It gets her in the mix of things, and it gives him that antagonist he needs to keep things going.
I agree. I strongly agree. And I think we should write a letter.
What does this say, though, about our school system today, where a parent can derail things?
I don't have kids, so I don't know. But I do know that, like, power presents itself in any arena, whether it's a school or a town council, a union. Like, there's always going to be people that have sort of an outsized sense of themselves and of authority, that they know what's right in this situation, that they'll kind of do whatever it takes to make sure that their policies are implemented.
And they're charismatic because they do have followers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that Linda, you got to do a lot of glad handing when you are running a restaurant and are kind of like the queen of the town. I think it comes at a personal cost to her. Like, it's hard to sort of put on that mask all the time. I think that's why, like, in the last scene, she's sort of not dressed down, but it's sort of loosened in a way. And so it costs her something, but it's worth it. It's worth it to her to have power.
The double Sprite and steak nuggets. What a great concept, right?
I loved saying that line, maybe more than any line I've ever said in my life. And I've done Top Stopper. But to just be like, I invented them. Like, to have that much pride. And like, it bowled me over every time I said it. Also, to watch Stephanie eat so many steak nuggets while we were filming it was really, she went the extra mile.
There is such a thing as a steak nugget?
Honey, Props made them.
How'd they taste?
Delicious.
I mean, to heck with a TV show. Let's be marketing this stuff, right?
This is the merch.
I'm there for you. In your career, I know I'm maybe overselling this, but I do think that this is one of the best parts you've ever had. Do you see it as that or not? Is it just another part?
Look, I think Linda is a stunning part to play. Like, she is so layered to me. She turns on a dime. It's like what every actor who wants to flex muscles really wants to do. You get to play all these different sides. She's like a dice. And so that's very exciting to me. Yeah, I think she's definitely one of my favorites. But like, I've also played Billy Dawn in Born Yesterday. Like, I've gotten to do these sort of incredible Crimes of the Heart by Beth Henley. Like, I've gotten to play a lot of complicated, boldly drawn women, and I'm so grateful for that. But Linda's really, she found the top 3.
I would say so, because those characters, the quirkiness of them is what draws you into them. She is recognizable. Linda is in a community that we all know. And so that's why I think you've been able to tap into something that we don't see that often, because it is a mirror. It is a mirror to the communities that we have out there. So who knows? Yeah, you had a long theater career. And why did you decide I want to do TV and movies? Why is that?
Well, I wanted to be able to pay rent.
I want steak nuggets, okay?
I want steak nuggets. I want double Sprite. I love the theater so much. I mean, it's my first love, and I think it's unlike any other art form. I think it is our last vestige of like non-exclusive ritual in a way. But I really, I live in New York City, and I wanted to be able to, make enough money to, pay the rent. I also kind of wanted to explore this new medium and see what it was like, because I had never done it. And it's a whole nother animal. I think when people are like, oh, it's the same, I just think that is the wrongest answer. To me, it's absolute. It's fun. It's apples and oranges.
So, and your father's a minister, right?
Yes, he is.
So what did he think about this career? Was there a point when he goes, no, that's not going to happen. We're not going to do that.
They have been so supportive, but kind of like this.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because I tend to play characters who will maybe not button their shirts all the way up, or like sort of sex might be the first tool in their toolbox that they use. My parents are like, I'm really ready for you to play Margaret Thatcher. And you're just like, I'm just not drawn that way. But it's
Mark Channel, please.
I know, but they're so supportive. I remember my mom coming to see a play where like the character said "God damn it" or something. And when she came backstage, she was like, "Now, Jennifer, I just think you could talk to the playwright and just ask him to change it."
You did for you.
Just for me. And I was like, "Well, Mom, it's the character. It's not me saying it." And she was like, "I know, but it's real hard." They're very sweet.
What are you working on now then?
Right now I'm shooting a limited series for Netflix called Sirens. It's based on a play by Molly Metzler. I don't know if you know her. She did LMNOP and Close Up and all these great plays. And it stars Julianne Moore, Kevin Bacon, and Megan Fahey, and Millie Alcock. And it's really cool.
Did Claws change you?
Yeah, it really did.
I see the nails are done. So it's like, I'll never be able to not do the nails, right?
I know. Now my hands, I look at them. If I don't have nails on, and I'm like, "You gross little nubbins."
Did you enjoy that series?
It was the best experience. It was the best. Like, it really was a family. And we loved New Orleans so much. And the freedom also. The writers were so collaborative, and they really built these amazing characters. And also, I had really terrible eating disorders, and I had gone to eating disorder rehab. It was bad before I gained like 70 pounds in rehab, and I really thought I wasn't going to get to be an actress anymore. I was like, this is going to be like a bartender, like an alcoholic bartender. I can't do it and stay healthy. And I was like, I'm going to give myself a year, and if I can eat food and be on TV, then maybe I could still be an actress. I booked Claws maybe like a month after I got out, and I remember being so scared. And I met with Nikki Cassell, the director, and the writer Elliot, and I made promises. I was like, I know this character is supposed to be kind of like rail thin and scrappy, and I was like, I can lose weight. I was just making promises that I shouldn't have made. And Elliot Lawrence looked right at me and he said, "Oh, honey, this is more of a muffin top type show." And so then I got to just be a person.
Is that still a concern? Or do you say, I am the size I am and that's what I'm going to be? Or...
Yeah, I mean, I've been in recovery for like almost 8 years now, and I really am. I'm the size I'm going to be. My weight fluctuates. It goes up and down depending on my hormones, my stress, like whatever. I'm a character actress. I'm not trying to be the romantic lead. You know, like, I don't care in a very real way. And I think it's made me a better actress. I used to have such a guilt, shame, punishment relationship with food. And I know so many women and so many people that do. And that cultural obsession with thinness is so much more about obedience than it is about anything else. And I just refuse to obey anymore. And that frees us.
And look at how the doors opened.
I know, right?
So I'm not putting it out there, but I'm putting it out there. And I've got to say, who is the person in charge of nominating you for Best Guest Actress in a series? Because it so has to happen. And if I need to start calling people and doing it, I will be there.
All right, Bruce, thanks for that interview.
Are you ready for a double sprite? Could you have one right now? They're very good.
I want steak nuggets. That's what I want. I want my steak nuggets.
I think it's an idea that really should be mined. I think they could make a lot. The English teachers steak nuggets exclusively here for you today. At school, they must have crap like that, don't they? They pass it off as steak nuggets.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. At school, it almost sounds too good for school, though, when you start thinking about it. It almost, like, there's my wife introduced me to mock chicken legs. Have you ever heard of mock chicken legs?
What are they?
Well, first off, there's no chicken in it. So that's where it gets really weird really quick. It's like a preformed pork meat combination. It's like ground up and
does it taste like chicken?
No, it's like formed almost into a shape of some sort, breaded and on a stick, and then you either bake them or fry them. They're quite tasty. I will have to say that. But
anything fried is good.
Yeah, it's kind of like, bacon makes everything better. So yeah, in this case, you fry it up, it's good. So yeah, I will recommend the mock chicken legs. I don't know where it was kind of a regional thing for her. I'm from out east, but my wife is from northeast Wisconsin, and it is apparently pretty big there. I do see it from time to time locally where I am near Milwaukee and Madison in certain like butcher shops, but it's very hit and miss. So I don't know if it's just a very regional thing or what the deal is. But
does it come with a side of cheese?
No, it's no cheese. This is everything else has cheese, but not these.
Okay. Very good. You were in college where they had steak night. Do you ever remember steak night? They would give it to us sparingly. And then you get the steak, and the steak was so tough you couldn't cut it with a knife. I mean, honest to God, it was leather in those days. But it sounded like, oh my God, it's steak night at school. Let's have steaks. So you know how it is. But yeah, we're in an odd time for movies because a lot of them don't have distribution. And what we're finding is that they're going to film festivals. So if you haven't been to a film festival and there is one in your area, go to it. You are going to see new kinds of films, or at least new concepts that could be built into a bigger film. You know, a lot of times they'll do select scenes and then call that their entry for a competition to try and get a buyer who would want to help fund a film. And so they're a good place to kind of see what the future is and what the topics are. We have a film festival in Sioux City that's starting this weekend, and we've had many Oscar winners that have come through there who tested their waters here, you know, and got us to look at these films. So I'm excited to see what the new things are, what people are talking about and what they're doing, and a lot of animation. For some reason, it must be all that time at home on an iPad that I'm doing animation. We'll see what happens.
All right. So there you go. So get out to your local film festival if one happens to pass through. A lot of good TV options, and then go back, you know, spend some time, look for some of those older movies with Kris Kristofferson, Maggie Smith, kind of revisit their work. Like James Earl Jones, he was someone else.
James Earl Jones, yeah.
He passed away also, kind of like in between recording of our previous episode and the current episode. He died also, and you know, all the iconic things that he's done. So watch one of these and celebrate the life of one of these legends who's just passed. It's
you
really...
know, TCM can't keep up with their tribute nights to the ones who have died.
I know.
It's sad, but yeah, look at some of those old films because it's really remarkable the curve that they had in their careers. Very few get that opportunity, and the ones we've lost lately did have a big curve in terms of the kinds of roles they were offered. Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you again for listening. Be back again next week for another episode of Streamed and Screened.
Okay, how weird does it feel to be called someone's fiance? The first time you hear it, you do a double take. Your heart kind of flutters, and before you know it, you go from let's just enjoy the moment to we're planning a fall wedding. That's where Zola comes in. Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place and have fun along the way. From free planning tools like a budget tracker and website to a venue and vendor discovery tool that matches you with your dream team. Everything on Zola is designed to make your wedding journey as easy as possible. And with invites that can be completely customized and a wedding registry packed with gifts you actually want. Zola takes you from save our date to thanks so much without breaking a sweat. From getting engaged to getting married, Zola has everything you need to plan your wedding in one place. Start planning at Zola.com. That's ZOLA.com.